What up? It's you, Jack. So I just wanted to bring up an important issue here because obviously you know the times. This is an essay written, a theological political analysis written by Brayton Polka on the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms preamble, which states, whereas Canada is founded upon principles and the rule of, that recognize, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So there's some important things I'd like to point out. You should find it. It's easy to find. It's called The Supremacy, God, and the Rule of Law in Canada by Brayton Polka. Okay. Some important things here. First of all, understand that the author studies these notions in light of the distinction which Spinoza made between theology and philosophy and his concept of sovereignty. With Spinoza's distinction between God and law, that each is sovereign only insofar as both are sovereign, we can develop a theory of interpretation which allows us to view the principles of the Charter as our absolute or sovereign authority while eschewing all notions of both proletarianism and relativism. That's the idea that it's completely up to the words written, proletarianism. So the law is the law. If you kill, it doesn't matter whether it's in self-defense, thou shalt not kill. Or relativism, which says, well, he tried to kill me, so I had to kill him. So there's a distinction between those two, but at the same time, they work together. That's the idea of the essay here. But it goes into much more detail, and there's something in particular I'm looking for here. Let's see if I can find it. That we know, for instance, that the God we're speaking of is the God of the Holy Bible. And it's written here, and this is found on Canada's legal website. Here we go. Let's see here. Such that which is separate recognizes the dignity of that from which it asserts its separateness. Spinoza is demonstrating the separation of philosophy from theology, reason from faith, the secular from the religious, the state from the Bible. Is very careful to show, in rigorously precise terms, that the separation of philosophy from theology does not involve the subordination either of theology to philosophy or philosophy to theology. Rather, he holds that for philosophy to be sovereign, it must recognize the sovereignty of its opposite, theology, and that for theology to be sovereign, it must recognize the sovereignty of its opposite, philosophy. So, theology is the supremacy of God, and philosophy is the rule of law. To conceive of something as separate but not subordinate involves the express and dialect, or the express and involves and expresses the dialect of truth. For one to be true, the other must equally be true. This is the basis of Canada. In theological political tractatus, in particular, Spinoza argues that the Bible, as the sovereign cause of itself, must be interpreted separately from itself alone. That is, on its own terms. The Bible, in other words, must not be subordinate to a conception of reason or political authority, which is either superior or inferior to it, either its master or its slave. Thus, Spinoza is unique as a philosopher and as a political? Oh, there you go. As a political theorist in recognizing that if we are to comprehend the dialect of God and law, our conception of interpretation must be applied no less to philosophy, the secular world, than to the Bible. The supremacy of God is not merely compatible with, but fundamental to the rule of law, just as the rule of law, including the rule of lawful interpretation, is not merely compatible with, but fundamental to the conceiving of God as supreme. I'm looking for the spot in particular that denotes exactly. Maybe I'll find it, make another video. Essentially, that we are talking about. Hold on. Anyways, excellent read. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just put it up on the screen slowly, and you can read it. I keep thinking my finger's in the way of you seeing it. I'm looking for a spot where it says something about the faithful reader. There you go, right here. Yeah, this is what I was trying to read. In order to develop what we know today to be the first conception of sovereignty as democratic rule, the first conception of democracy as a sovereign rule. In history, one must undertake to separate philosophy from theology, or separation of the secular from the religious, in terms of his conception of sovereignty. The sovereignty of God, the sovereignty of the Bible, the sovereignty of the reader, the faithful individual of the Bible, the sovereignty of the ruler, the sovereignty of the subject, the sovereignty of the covenant, the sovereignty of the democratic people. The concept of sovereignty is articulated as the cause of itself by Spinoza at the beginning of, as the ground of, the ethics, of which part 1 is entitled On God, and the fifth and last part is entitled On Human Race, or On Human Freedom. So, geez, I can select it. Maybe I'll post the video, maybe I won't. But I'll tell you what, if I run through the pages, I will post this video. I just want to copy this one here. Let's see here. Okay. Just so you can pause it and read it all if you like. This is an important essay on the preamble to the Canadian Charter, which nobody knows about, apparently. It all comes down to the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have do unto you, and that's the measure by which we interpret the laws of Canada, or the 34 articles of the Charter. It's a great essay. I'm just kind of scanning with my eyes as I go. It's for the purpose of you pausing and reading, like I said. Or you can find it online. Alright, hope you enjoyed reading the essay. Maybe I'll read it on another video. I just don't feel like doing that right now. Alright, one mango. Needsy.